My favorite art is art that makes me want to kill myself. Now, okay, crazy start, but it's true. One of my favorite contemporary, or not contemporary, like modern artists is Dean Cornwell, whose paintings elicit just such a unique feeling of dread that it makes my chest hurt. My favorite kind of music is music that genuinely makes me regret my life choices. It's music that makes me think back on some of the worst experiences I've ever had, look at them and go, yeah, those sucked pretty bad. And that's it. Obviously, there could be a lot of reasons why this is, and obviously one of the main ones is that I'm just mentally unwell. But I think a big part of it is the relatability, but the fact that it's relatable makes me feel even sadder. It's not a good thing for me personally to know that other people have experienced this exact same thing. And while it is certainly comforting, I guess, to know that you aren't alone, sometimes it can make you feel like, oh, so then my problems don't matter as much because I am not the only person in existence who has felt this way. I am not special. That's a very pessimistic and melancholic way of looking at it. Don't get me wrong. You shouldn't think of it like that. But sometimes I can't help but do that. And I'm sure, again, I'm not alone in this. I am not a unique individual. And while that's okay, and not entirely true, it just is. Now, everything I've said is, again, a very pessimistic way of looking at things. And I'm not saying that this is healthy, and I'm not saying that this is how you should view things, whatever. And I'm not saying it's even how I view things all the time. It's just when I find myself relying on art the most, it's in some of my lowest states. That's just, you know, like how art is. Also, I just realized I'm off center. And I got a ball of fabric, like Febreze, a fabric extra strength. In layman's terms, for lack of a better phrase, I like art the most when it makes me feel like I'm going crazy. I can listen to a song, and obviously not all art has to make you feel something. Sometimes art is just made to be aesthetically or sonically pleasing, and that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes art, like sometimes songs are just easy listens. Sometimes art is just pretty, you know, and that's okay. You can find meaning in it if you'd like to, but if you don't, that's also fine. Everybody has their own way of experiencing art. Blah, 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 blah. But I can listen to a song or read a book, look at a piece of artwork, and I can just say, hey, they did a good job making that. Hey, I like that. But I find that that's more common when I'm happy. I find that I just learn to appreciate the simpler aspects of things when I'm happy because I'm not desperately searching for some answer to it all as I am when I'm, you know, not. All of this is to say that art obviously has a very, very, very strong impact on the psyche. There's that movie, All About Lily Choo Choo, which is insane. I watched it during freshman year of high school and it ruined my life. And we'll get to that in a second. There's obviously Ricardo Lopez, the Bjork stalker, who was a real person, a real guy. And there's Perfect Blue, which was based on the Ricardo Lopez story. There's certain criminals, I'm not gonna name names, who are very heavily inspired by art and music that they listen to. Again, this isn't going to turn into like a true crime podcast, but you know, there are people who decide to do things because they listened to a song and it made them angry. That's a terrible way of explaining it, but moving on. I'm not going to talk about those. The only true crime thing I'm going to be talking about is Ricardo Lopez. And actually, that's where I want to start. Ricardo Lopez, if you don't know, was a man who was in love with the singer Bjork. She's Icelandic, I think, right? I could be wrong. I'm gonna look it up in the editing, but she's a European singer, very popular, been around for a while. And Ricardo Lopez was a man in the 90s who really, really liked her music. Over the course of 9 months in 1996, he recorded video diaries and basically discussed his life and his interest in Bjork. I watched them. They're kind of boring, honestly, which I think is interesting in of itself. Side tangent, like, you would expect, oh my god, it's Ricardo Lopez's video diaries. This guy's insane. These things are they're probably crazy, right? They're just like a guy talking to the camera. Obviously, they're very nefarious, I guess you would say. Very bleak, because you know what happens. But they're weirdly underwhelming. And I'm just saying, I'm sure it would be the same case if the Columbine tapes were released. But that's neither here nor there. Because people are just people, you know? And maybe, again, I'm just disillusioned and an asshole. But anyways, Ricardo Lopez, over 9 months in 1996, recorded video diaries of himself, and September 12th, mailed her a letter bomb rigged with sulfuric acid, intending to kill her. His final diary entry recorded his suicide. Now, obviously, the message, Bjork is alive. The message was interceded by customs or whoever, and obviously Ricardo Lopez died before he knew that that was the case. So, as much as I want to just sit here and say, that guy was crazy and I would never do something, I would not do something like that. But as much as I want to sit here and be like, I can't even, like, that guy is so crazy. He's like, I do, to an extent, understand his obsession turning to hysteria, essentially. I understand being so overwhelmed with your own delusions and love for something that it kind of weirdly turns to hatred and you just can't stand it anymore. I understand that feeling very well at a base level. It made me think about how he died thinking that he was, I assume, going to go meet Bjork on the afterlife. I assume that's what his motivations were. I'm not actually super well, like, studied up on the case, so pardon me. But I mean, like, can't imagine that there was any other real reason, unless he just wanted to kill himself and he was like, if I'm going down, you're going down with me. Regardless of his reasonings, he died assuming that Bjork would too. And she didn't. So he kind of died for no reason. And I think that is one of the most pitiful, I guess, things that I've ever heard. It begs the question, what would have happened if his mail did go through? What was he really hoping to gain? Again, if he believed in afterlife, I'm sure but he wouldn't be there to, you know, witness the death of Bjork. You wouldn't hear about it on, you know, the news. So what was the point? And I think, to me, again, as somebody who knows honestly very little, like laughably little about this case, to me, I think it was just one of those things that just happened for the sake of it happening. There is no real reason. Sometimes art just makes people go crazy. And again, this is a feeling I know all too well. Sometimes, again, you love something so much that you just cannot handle it. You're holding all of this love that you have for this thing, and you just don't know what to do with it. You don't know what to do with your hands. Sometimes you just wanna chop your hands off, which is what Lopez did. Okay, so it is now a few days later while I'm editing, and I want to I realized that when I was recording this, I hadn't recently rewatched the tapes. I was speaking back on experience, like, from watching the tapes, like, years ago, and I'd forgotten a lot of it. So, a few things. One, the tapes don't just exclusively consist of him just talking. It consists of him also building or ordering the parts for and stuff and creating the sulfuric bomb. It also consists of him actually at one point saying that, like, he's going to backtrack, and I don't remember exactly which tape it was. Hold on. Okay, it's not loading. But in one of the tapes, I will put on the screen which one, he decides to backtrack a bit and says that he, like, looks at what he's doing and says, oh, hey, this is kind of crazy. I'm going to focus on my family and stuff more and less on Bjork. And then that ends when Bjork marries a black man, or gets engaged to, or starts dating a black man. I think she gets married to him. Ricardo Lopez was obviously first and foremost very mentally ill, but he also had a lot of deep-seated racism. But I believe a lot of it was just because of this one incident. A lot of it would have just been racism that was kind of common with the time, like analogous with the fact that it's America in the 90s, but I think a lot of it was also because of this. So that's a few things. And then also, I'd forgotten how insane the final video diary was. So take everything I say here with a grain of salt. I just rewatched them. Not all of the footage, because it's like 20 hours worth. But I'd skimmed through them again and watched a few. And it is, again, indeed crazier than I remember it being. I think what I was thinking of when I said that it was kind of boring was more just how innocuous, like, it starts out as. Like, obviously it's him just, it's kind of just him just talking to a camera. It starts as him just testing it. Like, the very first few seconds of the first video diary entry are just him testing the camera, going like, testing, 1, 2, 3. And it definitely has a weird energy to it. It's more just a slow descent, which I mentioned. I relate these tapes to what I assume the basement tapes would be like, and I still stand by that, but yeah, that's, so I do not, and I also want to make it clear that I do not sympathize with Ricardo Lopez. He was not a great person, but again, he was first and foremost, before he was immoral or unethical, was just mentally ill. And I find that very important to, emphasize. He was very mentally unwell, and he got laid up from his job, and a lot of things in his life happened that led up to his final, like, breaking point, so to speak. And again, I do not relate in the fact that I would ever try to replicate what he did, nor do I believe in the same things he believes, but I relate in the fact that to a much lesser extent, I suppose, or a much different extent, I relate to the pure, unbridled, like, passion that can lead to aggression and, like, it just kind of ruining your life. Again, obviously, I am not condoning what he did, and I completely, obviously, acknowledge what he did was wrong, and I do not believe anybody who is thinking, thinking along the same lines as him should seek, if you find yourself, like, spiraling in the same way he did, seek help, talk to people, yeah. And I'm obviously very, very glad that the package was intercepted by customs or whatever and was not sent to Bjork. I'm very glad that she's safe. Yeah, I wanted to clear that up because I realized this is why I script things. I just say shit and then I look back on it, I'm like, that's just not right. But yeah, the video diaries basically consist of more than just him talking about his life to the camera. I do not empathize or sympathize with him. I more just find him pitiful, and very interesting case study. And a third thing, secret third option, I don't remember. But yeah, don't take everything I say with a grain of salt. I was not completely, like, thinking about what I was saying. So, alright, enjoy the rest of the video. I mentioned that case inspired a movie, Perfect Blue. We've all heard of Perfect Blue. If you haven't, yes, you have. It's a Miyazaki film. He made Tokyo Godfathers, Paprika, that one thing, it's like, he made a lot of good art. And Super Eye Patch Wolf, which is an objectively tough name, has an old video on him. Ignore my legs fell asleep. But that movie just details basically the same story. The main character is an idol, and she has a stalker who is absolutely obsessed with her to a dangerous degree. I bring it up just because it might be more well known than the actual case itself. But let's get into what I really want to talk about, which is all about Lily Choo Choo. Like I said, this movie ruined my life when I was a freshman in high school. It is very experimental and sort of hard to follow film, and I wouldn't even say that I, like, love it. I mean, I do. I definitely like it, and I think it's a very important, like, a movie that I think everybody should watch once. It's very beautiful, but it's kind of boring. But basically, the plot is that the main character, Yuichi Hasumi, is obsessed with an artist called Lily Choo Choo. He runs, like, or he doesn't, I can't remember if he either runs or he just, like, is a part of a forum dedicated to her, and it's called The Ether. It's a whole thing. It's, like, spiritual almost, but he's just know that he's really into this artist named Lily Choo Choo. You can find her music on Spotify, by the way. I don't know if it's on other music streaming platforms, but you can find it on Spotify, and it's actually very lovely. It's very pretty. I listened to it while high one time, and it kind of scared me, but that's I think that might just be me. But yeah, no, Yuichi is obsessed with Lily Choo Choo, and the movie doesn't necessarily exclusively follow this. There's a lot of other stuff that goes on. A lot of very extreme bullying. Not necessarily directed towards him. I mean, some of it is, but there's, like, just a lot going on. It's a really sad movie. But at the end of the movie, Yuichi attends a concert for Lily Choo Choo, and he, in the crowd, sees his, like, number one arch nemesis. He sees this guy who I think, if I remember correctly, they used to be friends, but the guy just started bullying him and others relentlessly. So Yuichi sees him in the crowd after the Lily Choo Choo concert, and he kills him. He just stabs him, walks away. Now, Yuichi's not, like, in the movie, the sanest, like, most well-adjusted character, but I'd argue that he wouldn't have done that if he never listened to Lily Choo Choo. And that is why I do really like the movie. It doesn't just focus on his relationship with Lily Choo Choo, it focuses more on his relationship with others. And the fact that his obsession is so overwhelming, again, that it just boils over. And I will say, when I was younger, I could relate in some way. I never killed anybody. Never even gotten in any fights, physically. But when I was younger, and again, less well-adjusted than I am now, I was, dealing with a lot of things. A lot of undiagnosed disorders. And this is why it ruined my life in, like, freshman year. Because when I watched it, I realized I didn't feel anything towards the fact that he killed this boy. And, like, I'm not trying to be like, my world is so dark and twisted and I'm so evil and fucked up. But, I mean, to a degree. But I think the worst part was that, again, I could relate. I knew what it was like to just feel like you had nothing else in your life except for art. And this is a feeling that I still have to this day. Less often. And in, a different manner, I guess. But I did, and I still do understand the feeling that all I have is this one thing, and I'm going to clutch it as closely to my chest as possible. And if you try to take it from me, I will fight and I will use my teeth. But let's talk about the title of this video. All of that to say, the title of this video is Art and Ego Death. I think I might change that, but I don't know why I would. If you don't know what ego death is, it's essentially a state characterized, like a state of mind characterized by losing oneself of identity. It's not the same as dissociation, but the two can often be confused, especially when somebody's experiencing it. They might mix those two up. It's like a whole thing for people to, like, take shrooms and then experience ego death. It's a very spiritual thing. I've never experienced it, but popular in certain religions like Buddhism, where essentially you are not you. For example, I would no longer be Peter. That's my name, by the way. I don't think I've ever said it on this channel. My name's Peter. I would no longer be the age that I am, living in the place that I live, knowing the people that I know. I would be at one with the universe around me because the walls of the sense of self have been broken down. This can happen for a lot of different reasons, but again, the most common is honestly drugs. But it's like a serene sense of tranquility and understanding. Art has caused me to get the closest I have ever been to ego death. I've never fully experienced ego death because I end up just dissociating. I'm God's weakest soldier, but art definitely makes me feel pretty damn close to it. And that's because of, if nothing else, its relatability. Now, relatability in of itself, in the most technical, like, utilitarian way, is ego death. You relate to something, you are no longer a unique individual because you share at least one aspect of yourself with something else. That's, again, a pretty bleak way of looking at it, unless you like that. Unless that's comforting to you. Teach their own. A lot of art is beautiful because of its relatability. Again, like I said, I like art that makes me want to kill myself. And that makes me want to talk about a band called Mongrel. They are a small grunge band from
Lincolnshire.
But aside from the lead singer, lovely dude, lovely guy, very nice. They don't have any music, except for a song by the bassist that I will link in the description. But basically, all of that to say, they're a grunge band from the UK. And they are around my age. When I found this out, I kind of lost my mind. I had already known that art could be made by anyone. Like, literally, I've been drawing since I was, like, old enough to hold a pencil, and I'm not unique in this. People much younger than me are a lot more successful than me with their art, and that's okay. This is not like me, that's just a fact. That's okay. I don't mind. But it kind of like hit me that like it's not just that one 12-year-old with 1 million followers on Instagram making art, you know? It hit me that literally anybody can. And it's not just like physical art, it's like, music and literature and stuff. And it sort of, again, I hate to keep saying that it ruined my life, but it kind of did. In a good way though. In a good way this time. Because I was like, oh shit, anybody can make art. But like literally anybody. And I'm not saying that Mongrel's like, well, they just let anybody in here, like, they're very lovely, very talented. Definitely go check them out. Again, they don't have any music out. As of recording this, they do not have any music out on platforms other than a song by the bassist, but definitely still go check them out. They're awesome. Anyways, but again, anybody can make art. And this was when I realized that's exactly the beauty of it, and that is exactly why it destroys me every time. It feels like and you may relate to this, but it feels like I am one person among however 7 billion, and I am. But it just helps me like remember that fact, which shouldn't stop you from making art, shouldn't stop you from being yourself, shouldn't stop you from trying to pursue your goals, obviously. But it is a bit disheartening because let's just say during the Renaissance in Italy, in Florence, there were like 4 guys who could paint. So it was far easier to be one of the greats. But now that everybody, and I do mean this as a good thing, it is a good thing that everybody can make art. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is a good thing that everybody can make art and everybody can just start. That is wonderful. I love how accessible it is. But it's also harder to make yourself stand out because, everybody can do it. Now everybody's style is different and people are, at different points along their, artistic journey. I am no longer one of those 4 guys who can paint. I am making videos in 2025 and I am no longer one of the 4 guys on YouTube making videos, And as sublime as this is, as nice as it is to know that there are millions of other people making the same mistakes I do and exploring the same topics I do and just trying and failing the same as I do. As nice as it is to know that, I'm not special. I am, obviously. A lot of what I'm saying, a lot of what I'm saying is very melodramatic, I know. It's for the sake of the video, and also because as much as I would love to preach positivity, because optimism is beautiful, I cannot sit here and say that I feel that way all of the time, and I just, again, want you to know that if you feel these things, you're not alone. You know, it's like kind of a cycle, though. You know, you're not alone in these feelings, which is the exact problem. But, you know, obviously I am special. There's only one of me, and there only will ever be one of me. There's only one of you. But sometimes it feels like, you know, there might be only one of me, but it feels like there's 700,000, you know? And that is, at least for me, because of art. I will look at art painted centuries ago. I will see that it was painted for the exact same reasons, or have the exact same style, or whatever, as something I thought I was unique in liking or thinking of. I don't know if I explained that well, but I will see art created centuries ago, and it will look exactly like something I would have liked to create today. I will listen to music from the 60s. You can't go as far back with music. I mean, you can, but, you know, at a certain point it just gets to classical, and then it just gets to, like, tribal drums. But I'll listen to music created decades ago, and I will think, oh, they already did that. They already wrote that lyric. They already used that, you know, that chord progression. But that is also the exact reason I always return to it. Like I said, I like art that makes me feel achy inside. I like all art, but there's something about art that makes me feel a little hopeless, that I just can't, I'm addicted to it. I can't get enough of it. Art is for everyone, by everyone. And I just sometimes wish that everyone didn't include me. But it is, at the end of the day, a good thing to be a part of the collective. Now, and Rand would probably disagree, but let's switch gears. Let's not just talk about, like, fine arts, I guess. Let's talk about language arts. Let's talk about literature. My favorite, sorry, I get excited when I think about it. My favorite author of all time, basically always has been and always will be, Donna Tartt. She wrote the Pulitzer Prize winning book, The Goldfinch, which most people have read. She wrote The Secret History, which everybody else has read. And she wrote The Little Friend, which it seems nobody has read, but it's very lovely. I really like The Little Friend. She's my #1 literary inspiration. If you don't know, my dream has always been to be a writer, a novelist. And her writing style is so captivating, and I love it so dearly, that sometimes I get so angry reading her books that I have to put them down. This is because she often expresses the things that I have extreme difficulty expressing in my work with such ease. Obviously, each time she writes a book, it takes like 10, 11 years for her to write it. Which, by the way, Donna, you're about due for another book. But it just, on the page, obviously it's already been written down. It's already been edited. It's already been published. And there will be a sentence that captures such a specific feeling that I thought only I had, and that I thought only I could express. And it's just sitting there staring at me, and I get so upset that I have to, like, stand up and walk around. It genuinely it irritates me, which is why she's my favorite author. I mean, I love literature, I love reading, I love language arts. Not that I read very often or as much as I should, but when I find good books I really like them. And there are plenty of authors I really admire, but few of them strike me so deeply in the same way that Donna Tartt does. I like her art because it makes me want to do better. I like her art because I want to beat her at her own game. This is a rather parasocial way of looking at it, and again, I'm not saying that this obsession is very healthy, but it just is how my brain works. I want to be a writer for multiple reasons, but one of them being, I want to prove that I can have an original thought. And this is the more optimistic side of things. I am constantly stuck in a rather unhealthy cycle of intaking media that makes me feel very, very boring and unspecial. And when I intake just the right piece of media, it will just make me so fired up that like I have to do better. And I'm just a very naturally competitive person, like by nature. Like I will turn everything into competition. It's really obnoxious actually, once you get to know me, but I've been told that I need to calm down, and I probably do. But I often feel very average. I often feel very I feel like a background character a lot of the time. But when the time is right, you know, every once in a blue moon, I will experience that feeling and I will go, no, I refuse. I refuse to just be another person among millions. Art can be made by anyone, but I'm going to make something that nobody has ever seen before. And that is why I have never truly experienced ego death. Because I'm stubborn. And because it might be serenity for other people, but it is not for me. I do not like the idea. And this is not me saying that if you experience ego death, you're like a bad person. For me personally, the idea existing simultaneously as every other thing in the universe on the same wavelength, that idea makes me sick to my stomach because I want to be something special. It's like, okay, you know the movie Pearl? She's like, I'm a star. Yeah. Moral of the story is like, I don't know, it's just, in the ever-changing online landscape that is getting more and more dystopian, I'm not going anywhere. I refuse to. I am going to stay right here, keep making my silly little videos and rambling about my silly little topics, and I am going to do it to the best of my abilities because I will not make something that I do not like. Now, again, that's not the most healthy way of looking at things. It's like the exact thing that tortured artist movies are like against. It's the reason why a lot of people kill themselves. I'm not going to, I promise. I know I keep talking about in this video. I swear to God I'm not. I swear to God. It's a very blunt phrase that I feel like captures the rawness of this emotion better than any other phrase I could use. Everything I make, I am going to work at it until I am at least slightly satisfied. I will find beauty in everything I make, and everything I make is going to be beautiful. And now, this is not necessarily saying that everything I make is going to be technically beautiful or technically astounding or good, but I am going to keep working and practicing until I'm able to consistently make things that I can be proud to have made. And I guess that's the moral. Work at your passions until you can be proud to say that those are your passions. Yeah, so that's the end of the video. I've been rambling about like nothing for like 50 minutes now. So I should probably stop, and I think my phone's gonna die. Yes, I use my phone as a camera. Shut up. And I also use it as a microphone because this one's dead, but also it fucking sucks. It sounds like shit. But anyway, this is going to be the first in a series of unscripted videos, which are going to be videos that I write when I just don't have time to write a script. Because writing a script takes me a very long time. Like, it takes me a long time because as much as I love writing, when I like something, I get so excited about it that it's like impossible for me to put my words down, and I end up just rambling anyways and just not sticking to the script. Also, I suck at sticking to like reading off scripts. Have you noticed that? Like in my videos, when I have like a scripted video with my camera on, I just like, every single shot starts me going like, so basically. But yeah, I think the next one is also going to be about art, but in a different sense. I got this idea from a subscriber, Isabel Martinez. You're great. I do not know you, but you're great. And they provide a lot of stimulating feedback, and I just enjoy seeing them comment. but they commented on one of my old videos, I think it was my Sims video, saying that I needed to make a video talking about paintings, and I was like, oh my god, you're so right. So I think that's what my next one's gonna be about. I'm still working on that massive project. That's not gonna be out for a while. It's gonna be like a retrospective, I guess. I'm like not even halfway done with writing the script. It's been months. So that's not gonna be out for a while. So expect a few more of these unscripted videos in the meantime. They're also really fun to make. It's hard for me to start these, but once I get into the groove of it, it's like, I love talking. Oh my god, I love talking. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. As always, it's gonna be, it was a little weirdly depressing, but I hope you found something valuable in there. I hope that, like, any of what I said made sense, because I might rewatch this while editing and realize that I just said a whole lot of nothing, which is very possible. But I guess it's kind of the point of the unscripted videos. It's just me saying stuff. But anyways, it was really fun to record, and I hope you enjoyed. I love you all. The song recommendation of the day, I didn't think about this. I didn't think this through. I got it. Sad Songs Intermission by AJJ. Perfect. Okay. But anyways, that's it. And I will see you all on the other side.